If you are a mother or you are planning to be one, we want to talk about how to harness the power of feminine energy in motherhood and parenting. You will discover how to balance the feminine energy and the masculine energy, and then how to raise children in alignment with their natural flow. Hi beautiful soul, I am Inès. I help women reconnect, realign with their feminine energy and merge it with their masculine energy in order to really transform every aspect of their life. Today we are talking about motherhood and parenting, but let's start with part 1, the power of our feminine energy in motherhood and in parenting. But before we start, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss a video on feminine energy that I will upload. Motherhood is the most rawest expression of feminine energy, creating a human being, right? And it's a journey. The first point that I want to talk about is nurturing and presence, because being fully present creates a deep emotional bond. As a mother myself, I've experienced both the challenges and the deep fulfillment that come from parenting while tapping into the essence of my feminine energy, when we can receive life and carry it through 9 months and then give birth to a human being into this world and then nurture that human being throughout their life. Well, that is the most beautiful gift. Motherhood is a journey of love, of presence, of patience, of nurturing, of deep intuition. I remember when I was a new parent and our child was going through an outburst of emotions. Intuitively, I would say that I've always known what to do in parenting and relationship in general. But for that case, especially, I have read a book where they told you to give time out to the child. But those things were not helping. It was feeling like something is off. And so when I tapped into my intuition, I understood there is another way. How about, instead of judging the child for what it has done wrong, I could tap into my intuition and get into calmness, into more softness, and open some space for the child to just be, to allow them to just be themselves, because who doesn't want to be loved for who they really are? From that place, I could give a heartfelt hug, and that hug calmed the situation. So sometimes a heartfelt hug devoid of judgment but with unconditional love is really what a child or another human being needs in order to calm their emotion down, in order to reconnect with who they truly are. Even before you get pregnant, the nurturing and being present with your body, with yourself, is going to help you to get a beautiful pregnancy. So one thing that I intuitively knew to do was to take 3 months before I wanted to get pregnant to really nurture my body in another way, in a highly nutritional way, and also to calm the stress down in my life in order to prepare for the best environment for a child to live in. Intuitively, I think we know what foods are great for us and what foods are not so good for us. Processed food are not so great for us, as well as extremely sugary foods, junk food, they are not good for us. But high nutritional foods, a well-balanced diet containing everything. Well, this is if you are perfectly healthy, right? I understand that for some people you have a particular lifestyle, maybe related to your health condition, so you can talk with the health practitioner to follow a nutrition that is going to be preparing you for your pregnancy and for motherhood. So another important thing is to include iron, especially if you are not consuming meat and fish. These are the things that help me particularly, but of course consult an expert in nutrition, in health, in order to find out what is really good for your case. So it's not just about nurturing your body, but also your mind and your soul. If you can relax more, if you can nurture your mind with elevating content that will help you to feel amazing overall, that is a good preparation for your pregnancy and for motherhood as well. Reducing stress. The stress that you have at work can totally influence your hormones, make it maybe difficult for you to get pregnant. So if you can reduce the number of hours that you work and start saving money so that even in the parenting, you are not so stressed about having to work, that is perfect. And if you have a provider who can take care of the money aspect while you take care of yourself, of your baby, unborn baby, and then your born baby, then it's even more perfect. Prioritizing your sleep so that your body will do what it naturally does. Connect with the feminine energy who knows exactly naturally how to carry a healthy baby and how to bring that healthy baby in this world as well. And then during your pregnancy, I will really recommend that you allow yourself to just be, to talk about your needs, your wants, so that you can relax more and really be present for that growing human being in your womb. Even the things that we do before the baby is in this world, those things count. They count on creating what kind of belief that child will have. The child can listen to us even in our womb. So the more peaceful, the more fulfilling of a life you live, the better your child will be from the womb and then also outside of the womb. So the second point I want to talk about is intuition and inner knowing. In parenting, trusting your intuition is different from trusting your instinct, right? From your instinct perspective, you might repeat the way you have been brought up. But the more you connect with your intuition, the more you work on yourself with inner work, right? Uncovering your own limiting belief. Because in parenting, really, the first child to parent is yourself, reparenting your inner child before you start parenting your own children. Understand that our children are actually our teachers. We think that we as parents are the main teachers, but it's really like we learn from each other. If we want to go deeper, it's like our children were souls that choose to incarnate through us so that we can learn lessons and grow together. This is how our children will sometimes show us the part of ourselves that we haven't learned to love yet, so that we can learn to love those parts. So the more you start with yourself, with reparenting your inner child, with giving to yourself all those things that you feel are missing, were missing in your childhood, the better you of a parent you will be. Imagine a parent who feels like in their childhood they wanted to be, I don't know what dream, a ballerina, let's say. And now that they have a daughter, they want to impose that dream on that daughter, like, oh, now you have to be a ballerina because that was my childhood dream and I will give that to you. It wasn't mine, but it's just an example, right? So that parent can stress the kid to become a ballerina without asking herself, is this really the dream of my child or is it my own dream? So what I would say in that situation is the parent can start learning ballet just for themselves because they love ballet, or they can start learning another style of dance just for the sake of fulfilling that dream that they love dancing, right? And then leave the child alone, especially if the child is not interested in ballet, for example. So reparenting ourselves, giving to ourselves the love that we needed, the things that we needed, the dreams that we needed, be it painting, be it playing the guitar, all the dreams that you had that you couldn't realize as a child, start doing them now so that you don't have to impose those dreams on your children, and so that your children can really be who they really, really want to be instead of being what you want them to be. So before talking to your child, especially in challenging situations, take time to calm down, to reconnect with yourself, and then from that place you can start talking. Instead of reacting instinctively, you will probably act the way you have seen your parent or older parent around you act. Another important thing is not letting what people will think influence the way you parent your children. You know, sometimes if the child has an outburst, let's say at the supermarket, instead of focusing on your child from a place of love, you are like, oh, what are people thinking about me? Maybe they think that I don't have enough control on my child, so I need to prove that I have control here, and you start shouting just to show that you have control, right? Instead, always turn out the noise, the external noise, like there is nobody here, just you and your child in the present moment. So how do you want to show up for your child in this moment? Always think of calming down, taking a few deep breaths is necessary, coming from a place of love, seeing your child, holding that space for your child to just be themselves, hugging them if necessary, understanding their pain or whatever emotion they are going through. And sometimes this is enough, right? And if you act like this, even the amount of tantrum will be less. So they will not need the attention like, oh, I need to throw a tantrum to have that attention, because you take time to be present with them, right? This is a perfect segue to the next step, which is receptivity and flow. There will be things that happen unpredictably, right? Like the tantrums or time pressure or something come up, and the kids are so good at this. Instead of having a strong deadline and a strong timeline how they want the day to unfold, they can really shift and go with the flow with everything that happened in the day. And we as parents can take that as a beautiful moment to embody, to show more joy in the present moment, more adaptability, on showing them how when things change, we can also go with the flow and adjust our plans. I remember when we were in summer holiday, we were going to the sea and bathing in the sea. But on that day, everybody was so tired and nobody wanted to go outside, although I wanted to go, right? So I had to say, okay, I go with the flow. I allow everybody to just rest, but I will take myself out. I will go on a small walk and let that work, that wind take the emotions away. Because as a parent, you can be like controlling and be like, okay, I have to impose my will here. Everybody get out. It is possible, but it's not going to be the more flowy way of doing things. So in that situation, I allow everybody to be and to do what they want to do, and I take myself out because I want to go out, and I go on a walk. That helps me to regulate my emotions, that helps me to have that sense of adventure that I wanted, and so that when I come back I can be more relaxed, more at ease, and also rest myself. So my fourth tip is going to be self-care in order to be present. You cannot pour from an empty cup. In order to have that presence, that calmness, that softness, it means that you take the time to nurture yourself, to rest, to take care of your own emotions. And even if a challenging situation, before you start shouting, take yourself away. Be like, okay, I need a time out, and you go away. You can go in the bathroom, close the door, and calm down first before you come and say, okay, about that situation, let's talk about it, or whatever, or let's hug each other. When you fill your cup by taking care of yourself, all those activities that you know are good for you, is it a walk in nature? Then go for a walk before you come, because it's important to have that moment-to-moment connection, and everything that we have is the present moment in order to create those beautiful connections, those beautiful memories, right? It's from the present moment that we create them. Always remember this, and before you start shouting or acting outside of yourself, take that time away to calm your emotions down. It can also be a small meditation or taking a few deep breaths to calm down. And then when you are regulated like that, when you are calm again, you can come back and act from that place of calmness, of unconditional love. You understand that before you can give that, you have to give it to yourself, right? You have to take that moment of stillness to calm down. Of course, it can be challenging to have that beautiful presence all the time, right? So give yourself permission also to have your moments where you just act like, oh, what was this, right? And then you can calm down and say, okay, I'm sorry that I did this and that. I don't want to do that in the future. And from there, you take the decision that you are no longer available for those outbursts of anger or acting not like yourself. Now let's move on to part 2, which is about balancing your masculine and feminine energy in parenting. Actually, it's important in all areas of life, but especially in parenting. The first point that I want to talk about here is the harmony between the structure and the flow. Our kids thrive when they have a structured environment, when they can rely on. I remember a moment where I was either overly strict and then either wanting to give them the freedom, like just flow. But it was important for me to connect both, like having that structure in some way and also allowing them a sense of flow, and prioritizing where is it important to have the structure and where is it important to just flow. So what I discovered for myself is that for the school things, I want that structure. I want them to do their homework and they get praise for that at school, right? Self-learning, I encourage them to learn the things that they really love to learn. For example, by watching videos. It's a way of how I have the structure, like they can do their homework, they can do their schoolwork, but also have that flow where they can learn the things that they would love to learn, right? Because our school system sometimes stop the evolution of a child, although they can learn so much more, so much faster. But for that, you also need the presence of the parent to guide them in those things that they want to learn. It is nice to have chaos, especially when they are playing, but for the day, they need a clear structure. For example, for our bedtime routine, we have a structure that we have, like after eating dinner, Abendbrot, then they go and brush their teeth, and then they can read a book before they go to bed, right? And before that, they can change in their sleeping clothes, right? So for me, especially, there are things that are really important in that routine, like brushing their teeth or reading, because if you train your children from a younger age, maybe 3 months already, you start showing them pictures, right? And talking with them, it helps them to have a good vocabulary and to love books. So go to the library and pick some books for themselves. But if you don't have that routine, then they grow up and they are like, I don't want to read books, it's boring. Books are not boring. A lot of knowledge are in books, a lot of creativity are in books. So if you start at a younger age to show them pictures, then as they grow, they want to learn how to read those texts that are in the picture book, right? And this is how they cultivate from within that interest to learn, that interest to excel at many things, like the creativity, the ability to read, the ability to compute, and all of that. So that is the structure, and then the flow comes in adding the variation that the child wants for that day. For example, on some day they will want to play a board game with their papa. You can include that so that everybody is happy at the end of the day. So this allows for playfulness, but also for that structure. And that structure feels effortless. The bedtime routine becomes a fun bedtime routine because you were trained to do that from a very younger age, right? It becomes something that you naturally want to do. For example, pick a book and say, yes, today we are reading this book, right? But if you haven't trained your child for that, then if you want to add such a bedtime routine and impose it, then you'll be like, no, I don't want to read. And by the way, there were some studies made and they show that the more books there is in a household, the more successful the people in that household are. The household with low social economics status also have low amounts of books in their home. So as much as you can, you don't have to buy books, but you can take a subscription in your town library, and then you go once a week or twice a week. With the kids, we go once a week, and then you can change books. And then for birthday, for example, you can also offer books for children who love books. So the next thing I want to talk about is guidance versus surrender. This is about leading while allowing your children to be themselves. Instead of forcing the outcome, you can guide your child in exemplifying that behavior. For example, with reading, if you haven't started at a younger age, but your child sees you reading in books regularly, then they will want to read also books because they want to do what their parents are doing, right? So exemplifying the behavior that you want your children to have is the best way how they will learn. We think that we need to talk to them and tell them how to behave. Actually, they learn from us. So if you cultivate a calm way of being, your children learn that calm way of being in you. It's the same with your confidence. The more confidence you become yourself, the more your children learn to be confident through you. The more at ease you are with expressing your ideas, the more your children learn to express their idea as well. And it's the other way around also. If you don't have enough confidence, if you cannot speak up, then it's the same how your child learn not to speak up, not to be confident, right? So it's really a beautiful thing as parents to elevate ourselves, to work on ourselves, to grow, to heal, to expand, because this is how our children learn from us. They learn from our behavior, they learn from observing us, and then naturally they want to do the same thing. And it's probably how we learn also from our parents, right? So we can unparent ourselves and reparent ourselves, meaning that the behavior that we have taken from our childhood that we don't agree anymore with, we can start replacing them with behavior that we actually want. If it's more confidence, if it's more speaking up, if it's more showing up, all those things we can retrain ourselves to do this. And how to do it is step by step, baby step by baby step. Is starting slow with the smaller things, right? Giving yourself some assignment like, okay, today when I talk to someone, I will come from my heart, right? I will talk and be a little bit more vulnerable. And then from that place, you can grow and say, oh, that was not too bad. Or even if it was uncomfortable, you do it again, because it's by repeating that behavior that you learn and that you parent yourself, right? It's the same for our kids. The more we repeat good behaviors with them, like how to be confident, how to speak up, how to speak loud, right? How to engage in the classroom and stuff like that, how to play with their friends. An important thing is not having violence, right? The more the kids can see the exemplification of that, the more easier it is for them to not hit their friend or their sibling, showing them the things that they can do instead, like talking, using their voice to say, hey, stop, don't do this with me. If somebody is trying to bully them, for example, because it's not just about always peaceful, always smiling. Sometimes there will be challenges, and we need to teach them also how to deal with those challenges. Yes, it's not okay to hit someone, but what can you do instead? So use your voice and speak loudly, like, hey, don't do this with me, like really with a convincing voice, like don't mess up with me. And if that is not working, then you can take a parent or an adult, right, the teacher, to say, hey, this person is bullying me or something like that. But before that, before you have to take someone, teach your child to come from their power, right? Because it is something that we can teach them. It's something that they can learn. My friends in school, college and so, called me the quiet strength, right? La force tranquille. Because when you try to mess with me, then I show you my real strength. But if we are just easy peasy, then you think, oh, that girl is so quiet. It's how you can use both the feminine and the masculine energy, because that loving aspect of themselves, that calm, harmonious seeking aspect of themselves is more of their feminine energy. And then when somebody tries to mess up or to bully them, they can bring up the masculine energy and be that protector, like, no, don't do this with me, right? Stop. Speak loudly and say, stop, that's enough. Okay, the next step that we want to talk about is teaching them the emotional intelligence. We can teach our children to process their emotion and encourage them to express them. I remember in kindergarten, they built some smiley faces for the children who have difficulty to talk about their emotions. Then they can show if they are smiley. Alright, my next tip is going to be, make sure that your child see both from you, the leadership and the balance. You need to embody all those aspects that you want to teach them, because this is the way how you teach them. Or have another adult in their life, maybe a friend, a parent of their friend or something, because they learn from the adult around them. So the more you have those qualities in the adult around them, the more they learn those qualities easily, and the more they can see also the balance in those energies, the masculine and the feminine, in both of the parents. If the parents have strict masculine traits for the dad and strict feminine traits for the mom, then they internalize that also. But if the parent can merge and balancing and merging masculine and feminine traits within them, then the children learn that, and they have an easier time balancing those energies also within them. They have been seeing that since their early childhood, so it's easy for them to embody that. Alright, beautiful soul, part 3. Let's talk about raising children in alignment with your feminine energy. So the first tip is to encourage creativity and imagination. Let them play freely, use their own imagination in the play. Encourage them to do that. Some of the most magical moments when raising children is when you can watch your child just be themselves, right? Especially when you can just observe them play. Maybe imaginative playing where they can play roles with each other, right? Or when they can play with their toys and they can have stories that they play in their head. This is a nice reminder of how crucial creativity is. So allow space for creativity. Instead of making too many rules, when it's playtime, let them explore their own creativity. Our kids love Lego blocks, for example, and from a younger age, the big blocks, and then as they grow, the smaller ones. And also it's so beautiful when they have space that they can just use, right? One thing that I didn't succeed in doing is to really make sure that they tidy up their toys after they played. In kindergarten, they do that because the structure there is stronger, but at home, I didn't put the emphasis there, because also for my own way of being, I love to just have flow, right? It is wise to train them also from a young age. Like my mom warned me that it was better to teach them from a young age to always tidy up after playing. But for me, it's like they build something so beautiful, like a tower with Lego or something, and then when you want to tidy up, it means taking that down. So they are like, no, we are going to play with it again tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, we can let it there. But it's really important to find that balance between the structure, like after playing, you have to tidy up, and the play, let them go with their imagination, and maybe let them have that beautiful structure that they built for a few days before tidying up. Tip number 2 is fostering emotional awareness. It's to teach them that their emotion is actually their strength. Well, they are going to mirror what you do, right? So the more you can embrace your own emotions, the better they will learn that expressing their emotion or feeling their emotion is not a weakness, but it's actually a strength. So again, one beautiful thing here for people who have difficulty to express their emotions is to take them aside, because When they are one-on-one, it's easier to talk. I know that also from my own experience. In group setting, I have difficulty to talk than when I'm one-on-one with a person, soul to soul. It's more easier to be open and vulnerable and let the ego aside. So encourage them to share how they felt after a day, for example. How did they play? How they felt while playing or at school, and why. Number 3 is to teach them the power of resting and reconnecting, the priority of balance. So instead of always being on the move, it's also important to prioritize resting time, to teach them the importance of resting as well as doing all those beautiful activities. Even in holiday, we take the time to rest. Sometimes when you are in holiday, you just want to explore and discover as many things as you can. It's also important to take one day off where you just rest, like real holiday, real resting, before you can explore the rest, instead of doing so much and then feeling exhausted from being on holiday. It can be even a beautiful thing to teach them mindfulness exercises, especially when they see you meditate. They will want to meditate also. They will ask you, what are you doing? And then you explain that it's about breathing, that it's about calming your mind, observing your thoughts, right? And they will want to do that also. They really love mirroring what we do, especially at a younger age. They can learn those things. And tip number 4 is encouraging children's authenticity. Actually, children are the most authentic people that they can be, but from their peers, from the society they live in, from us parents, they will learn that it's not safe to express that authenticity, or they can learn that it is great to be just the way they are. The more we can encourage them to always be the way they are, to always listen to their heart, to always listen to their intuition, to start talking to them about what intuition is, the more they can be in alignment with their authenticity. Just as for adults, it is in the little things that they foster that authenticity, the little choices that they have. What am I wearing today? What am I choosing for breakfast? Which book am I reading today? So those small tasks give them the power to say, here is what I love and that is what I want to do. If the kids learn to do this in the smaller things, it's the same how they will be attuned to what they love as adults and go for that as well. So I would love to know from you, how do you use your feminine energy in parenting and in motherhood? And if you want to go even deeper at embracing your feminine energy in all areas of your life, then check out my courses. Divine Feminine Glow Up is perfect for that. If this video resonated with you, then give me a thumbs up, subscribe so that you never miss a video on feminine energy.